It's the Jesus we're fighting for. You know, I was listening to a preacher, and he was talking about Galatia. And he was explaining how flat Galatia is. And he was really impressed because there wasn't any natural defenses in Galatia, right? In a flat plain, usually people have hills. Usually they have things that they can hide under in caves or something. There was nothing. It's just flat land. And so, yet, for hundreds of years, the Galatian armies were able to fend off intruders and other invading armies. They'd be there, and they would fend them off. And so this made him ask the question, how were they able to do that? How did they do that? How is an army with no natural defenses, how are they able to fight back like that? And he found out it's because they fought differently. The way they fought is when they would go into battle, they would bring their wives and their children with them. And they would have a conversation about what would happen if they lost. How their children would be taken into slavery. How their daughters would marry their sons. How his wives, they don't know what would happen. And then they would go into battle with their families watching them. And you just fight different when your families are there watching you. You fight different when you fight for someone you love. You fight different when you fight for a kingdom that you belong in. You fight different when you serve a king that you adore. That's who we serve. We need to fight different. If you don't believe that Jesus is worth trusting and obeying, then you honestly don't understand the gospel. You can't grasp the glory that is Jesus. You can't do it. So what is Christianity so far? 1, Christianity is to love Jesus first. 2, Christianity is making the willful decision to count the cost and obey. And my last point is found in verses 34 and 35. And with this I'll close. Verse 34 says, "Salt is good, but if salt has lost its taste, how shall its saltiness be restored? It is of no use either for the soil or for the manure pile. It is thrown away. He who has ears to hear, let him hear." Back then, in Jesus' time, salt had 3 main purposes, right? Real simple. They are to enhance flavor, they're to preserve food, and they're also used for the fertilizer. Jesus tells us we are the salt of the earth. So it's our privilege to be used of God to preserve, to enhance, to fertilize those around us. So lastly, point number 3, Christianity is allowing for God to work in us and through us in order to spread his fame. Don't be useless. Don't be useless. He says, if a salt loses its saltiness, it's good for nothing. Don't be useless. Live for more. Fight. Persevere. And do it for the glory of God. We need to be making that willful decision to count the cost and obey. We need to love Jesus and give him first priority. And we just need to allow God to use us. So with that being said, I'm going to call Cece and Hannah. They're going to sing a song. And then from there, we're just going to close in prayer.